Gunshots, gunshots, gunshots. You know what it is. Yo, attorney Tony Busby slams Jay-Z's lawyer and Jay-Z for inflammatory filings in the Child R lawsuit. Jay-Z came out fighting like if he's in Marcy Projects, and Tony Busby was against the rope. He didn't know how to take it. Jay-Z threw a jab. Boom, Busby go back. Busby throws an uppercut. Boom, Jay-Z weaves it. And now Tony Busby come back and he's firing hard. He's saying, just because my client don't have all the facts right and her daddy said he don't remember nothing, and she said that a rock star was there that wasn't, and there was a big telegraph outside the Radio City, and it wasn't. He got a bullcrap explanation for all this. Y'all need to listen to this. This a gangster channel, so we don't pull no punches. We ain't on nobody's side. We just report it how you need it reported. Make sure you go subscribe at Juanita Mecca Audio, please. That's my daughter's YouTube channel. Juanita Mecca Audio, and I got Mecca Audio TV and Unique Mecca Audio Prison Stories. Show some love. Let's get this going. Cop my man Lou Sims' book. We riding. All right, you know what it is. Unique Mecca Audio, man. Jay-Z and Tony Busby is going at it toe-to-toe. We gonna play this. I got my man Jesse Weber. He gonna break it down, and you know I'm gonna give you all the real, because Jesse is Jesse. You know what I mean? And Unique is, you know, y'all call me messy or whatever, because I'm gonna give it 100, and that's why you here, and that's what you gonna get.
So we have this new update in the ongoing war between Jay-Z and the attorney representing a woman who claims the rapper raped her 25 years ago when she was 13 years old at a VMA's after party. And she also claims Sean Diddy Combs also assaulted her as well. Now, both Combs and Jay-Z, by the way, have adamantly denied these allegations. In fact, Jay-Z went so far as to sue the lawyer behind this case, Tony Busby, for extortion, called him deplorable. Now, if you've been following our coverage of this story, one of the last updates that we had was that Jay-Z, Sean Carter, had moved to dismiss the case and asked the court to impose sanctions upon Tony Busby. Again,
yo, is Jay-Z fighting or what?
Jane Doe's attorney. Now, the main argument was that some of the details of her claims from what happened that night were either refuted or not supported by an investigation that was conducted by NBC. Now, before I get into all of that and Busby's response, that's going to be what we're really going to focus on, I want to remind you all what her claim is. So this is how it's outlined from the latest filing. Quote, plaintiff alleges that on September 7, 2000, she, then 13 years old, went to Radio City Music Hall in New York City to try to attend the VMAs.
So let's take this step by step. This is a 13-year-old girl where her parents are supposed to know where she's at all times. And then her parents find out that she was all the way in New York City, 5 hours away, and he don't remember nothing about this. Pay attention to how stupid this sounds.
As plaintiff did not have a ticket to the show, she watched the VMAs on a jumbotron outside. In hopes of talking her way into either the VMAs or an after party, plaintiff also approached and spoke to several limousine drivers parked nearby the VMAs, one of whom claimed to work for Combs and told her that plaintiff fit what Diddy was looking for, and he invited her to an after party. Later that evening, the driver brought plaintiff to an after party at what plaintiff believed to be a large white residence with a gated U-shaped driveway. Inside the party, plaintiff recognized and spoke to several celebrities. After accepting a drink from a member of the waitstaff, plaintiff began to feel woozy and lightheaded, at which point she found an empty bedroom to rest in, but soon after, Combs, Carter, and another individual entered the room, at which time Combs grabbed her and said, "You are ready to party." Thereafter, both Carter and Combs held plaintiff down and raped her. Plaintiff was able to escape after fighting back, and she ultimately made her way to a gas station where she called her father, who then picked her up shortly.
This is a 13-year-old girl, and she fought allegedly Jay-Z and Diddy off with another female there. So this is 3 adults and a 13-year-old, and she fought her way out of this situation. Just listen to this crap, how this play out. I gotta call it crap, man. I gotta call it crap.
Shortly before dawn. Now, as I said, NBC did an investigation into this, and they interviewed Jane Doe. They looked into this account, and in their report, they found some potential issues. For example, she claims she watched the VMAs on a Jumbotron. But Carter's team says when you look at video evidence of that night, there is no Jumbotron. She claimed after getting attacked, she ran to a gas station where her father picked her up. But according to NBC, her father said he doesn't recall doing that and insists that that would be something he would have remembered.
Right or wrong, if you was a father, you wouldn't remember if your 13-year-old daughter done got, drugs in her from drinking something and fought off all these adults, or hair is out of place, her complexion is who. I mean, come on, man. Let's just look at this picture. This is crazy.
She claims she spoke to Good Charlotte's Benji Madden at this alleged party where she was reportedly raped. But his representatives have apparently come out and said he wasn't there. He was on.
You heard that? His representative said he wasn't even there. She said he was there. Let's hear the crap that she's going to use to justify that.
On tour. Jay-Z's team says that the limousine area, that was blocked off. So her claim that she was talking with Combs' limo driver who arranged for her to be taken to this after party, that didn't make sense.
Hit that like
that there
button.
is photographic evidence. Combs and Jay-Z were at other parties that night, and there's no evidence they were at this house party where this alleged rape took place.
Now, let's see how close the house is from Radio City, if that's even there. But remember to hit the like button and subscribe to my daughter's YouTube channel at Juanita Mecca Audio, Unique Mecca Audio, Prison Stories, and Mecca Audio TV. And hit that like button.
Now, this Jane Doe, who hasn't been identified as of yet, okay, she's been allowed to proceed anonymously for now, has come out and said, look, I've made mistakes in my account. But she has also said it doesn't take away from what happened to her. She is adamant that she was sexually assaulted by Combs and Jay-Z. But Carter's attorney, more specifically attorney Alex Spiro, claims these allegations are false, and Busby either knew or should have known that these allegations were false before filing this action. That Busby and his firm didn't do the proper due diligence. And therefore, this is why he should be sanctioned. This is why he should be punished by the court. That's the nuts and bolts of what we're going to get into more now based on Busby's response. That's what we're going to focus on.
Here goes Busby's response.
Tony Busby, his firm, and the Jane Doe, the plaintiff in this case, are now being represented by Mark Kasowitz. This is a very high-profile attorney in the legal industry, once represented President Donald Trump, in fact.
Now we talking about a big boy lawyer. Tony Busby went out and got big boy. Said, oh man, Jay-Z coming at me like a little pit bull out of Marcy Projects. I gotta get me a pit bull out of Washington, D.C. So he went and got Trump's lawyer.
Now Kasowitz filed this memorandum of law opposing Carter's motion for sanctions against Busby and his firm, and that's what we're going to get into. It starts by saying, quote, Carter's motion amounts to an outrageous and unprecedented attempt to silence a plaintiff who alleges that 24 years ago, when she was 13 years old, defendants Carter and Combs raped her. Carter's celebrity status does not entitle him to special treatment by the courts, and certainly not on the mere say-so of his lawyers, as this court has recognized.
Then why you didn't name him from the beginning?
By the way, that's in reference to when the judge overseeing this case kind of chastised Sean Carter's legal team, refused to grant Carter's early motion to dismiss this case by writing that the court is not going to fast-track the judicial process merely because counsel demands it. Now, Kasowitz continues, relying solely on what his lawyers say are inaccurate details in plaintiff's account of this horrific assault, Carter asked this court to ignore the federal rules of civil procedure and, as a sanction for what his lawyers falsely say was Busby's failure to investigate, summarily dismiss plaintiff's well-pleaded FAC, First Amended Complaint, in its entirety, which would run roughshod over her right to take discovery and prove her claims before a jury.
Now, why would he say that the claim was falsely claimed, like he's already against Jay-Z? And then you're going to have these rat bastards is going to say that I'm defending Jay-Z. No, I'm defending our people, because this is not right, the way they doing this. If you let them get away with it with Diddy and Jay-Z, you and your favorite stars will be next.
And the argument they present is, look, you can't just dismiss this case right now because she misremembers some details, especially when we're talking about a case of alleged child sexual abuse, because it's been established that there could be memory lapses in those cases. This is a very traumatic event, again, if you take the allegations as true. And Kasowitz goes on the offensive and says, let's wait a second. Those mistakes that you say my client made about this story, let's take a second look at those. For example, the Jumbotron not being at Radio City. Well, Kasowitz argues that that's not even a detail that's material or even relevant to the case. But guess what? Kasowitz says there were Jumbotrons not far from the VMA show. That Jane Doe could have, in fact, watched the show on a Jumbotron in Times Square, for example. Again, we're talking about a detail that's 25 years ago. But again, there might have been a Jumbotron nearby. As for the limousines being cordoned off by police barricades that she wouldn't have been able to get to and talk to this driver, Kasowitz writes, quote, but as is plainly clear from the video and photos on which Carter's lawyers rely, the small limousine area at the entrance to Radio City is not where limousines parked during the show, but rather is merely where they dropped off and picked up guests. Thus, nothing about the photos and videos proves that plaintiff did not approach several limousine drivers parked nearby, and the limousine area is thus irrelevant. Next, Jane Doe claims she was raped at this large white residence with a U-shaped driveway, and Carter counters that with photographs that purportedly show that he was at a party in a nightclub in New York, that Combs was at the Lotus Club in New York City. But Kasowitz says, quote, even the NBC report on which Carter heavily relies conceded it is not clear what time those images were taken or if Combs and Carter attended any other after parties. In short, that Carter and Combs attended one or more after parties doesn't mean they didn't attend the party at which they raped plaintiff. Next point. Carter's lawyers say that if you look at the public property records, it proves that Combs didn't own this house that matches the description that Jane Doe gives of where she was attacked. But Kasowitz says Jane Doe didn't say the home that she was taken to for this after party where she was assaulted was owned by Combs. And guess what? The property records do show he was listed on a deed for a home in the Hamptons, and that either he or an affiliated company had actually owned that property until it was sold in 2020. And this place, by the way, hosted his infamous white parties. Fourth point, you know that whole Benji Madden not being in New York? Well, first of all, Kasowitz says, look, Jane Doe never mentioned Benji Madden in her complaint. She mentioned it to NBC in her subsequent interview. And for legal purposes, all that matters is what's in the legal complaint right now. But putting that to the side, even if she misremembered something, that doesn't mean she's not credible. Again, this was a traumatic alleged event from 25 years ago. And then finally, which is one of the most important points, Jane Doe's father saying he doesn't remember picking her up. Well, Kasowitz writes, given that this occurred 24 years ago, because she filed this last year, it is not surprising that her father may not recall a specific drive to pick up his daughter. Moreover, as plaintiff stated in her interview with NBC and reflecting a reticence not uncommon in sexual assault victims, she never told her father or anyone else about what happened to her at the party. We rode home in silence. He didn't ask me what happened. So given the passage of time, it is entirely possible that her father is simply mistaken.
Her father is simply mistaken instead of she may simply be lying to get a bag. Now, how do a father pick a daughter up after she's had a fight with 3 adults, 2 males and 1 female, and nothing is out of place, that she gets in the car? She's an emotional young child, so of course she's going to say, Daddy, this happened, or Daddy, that happened. Or he looked at her and say, why do you have that scratch on your face? So she didn't have a scratch on her. It was nothing out of place that her father didn't look at her and, initiate a conversation with his daughter like, what the heck happened to you? And the father is saying he don't remember nothing. Do you see how stupid this sounds? Or is it just me? It just sounds stupid. If this don't sound stupid to you, I don't know what to tell you. I mean, stupid is what stupid is,
Now, here's the big thing here. Kasowitz argues that this is early in the litigation, that we haven't even gotten into discovery yet, where each side turns over materials to the other, that, quote, there is no basis for assuming the truth of Carter's lawyer's assertions. In other words, it's premature to say that this case should be thrown out, or it's premature to say that her allegations are false. We haven't even gotten to the exchange of materials where she might be able to support her claims. Kasowitz argues to the contrary. At this stage of the litigation, plaintiff's allegations must be assumed to be true. And Carter's lawyers' assertions, if they raise anything at all, at most raise only factual disputes that may not be resolved on this pre-discovery record. And under the rules of civil procedure, the requirements of a complaint at the start of a litigation, they are pretty minimal. You just need to present sufficient facts that, if you accept as true, state a legal claim that can be remedied under the law. That's really all you need to show at this stage. So that is why Kasowitz, on behalf of Tony Busby and the plaintiff and in Busby's law firm, says that sanctions and making a motion for sanctions are totally inappropriate, that this motion should be denied, and even makes the argument that Carter's lawyers made this motion to avoid discovery, to avoid what might come out. And by the way, when we talk about sanctions, I've said this before, I'll say it again, that is an extreme punishment. It's rare. They're imposed in extraordinary circumstances by the court. You have to be talking about really bad, egregious behavior, like making false representations to the court, filing a lawsuit for an improper purpose, like merely just to harass someone.
Or merely just to get the bag. Let's stop it, man. Call it what it is. This is a bag grab.
That you're asserting claims or defenses that are not backed up by the facts or the law. And yes, attorneys have to conduct reasonable inquiries into the facts and the law before they file a complaint. But here again, Busby and co. are arguing that it's too early to say that these claims are totally false, or we filed these claims without doing our proper due diligence. They write, quote, "At a minimum, until discovery has been completed, the court simply cannot find that no reasonable evidentiary basis for a factual claim was disclosed in pretrial proceedings or at trial, the prerequisite for any examination by this court of counsel's Rule 11 responsibilities." Rule 11 is about sanctions and the obligations of an attorney. But Kasowitz goes further, and he argues that Busby and his team, they did do the appropriate due diligence before filing this complaint against Jay-Z and Sean Combs. The letter reads, in early October 2024, Jane Doe was referred to Busby and the Busby firm by AVA Law Group, plaintiff's co-counsel in this action. Before that referral, attorneys at AVA Law investigated the veracity of plaintiff's allegations. Plaintiff went through AVA Law's intake process, which the Busby firm understood to include numerous interviews, including an interview by at least one and possibly more attorneys. Only when the attorneys at AVA Law were convinced that plaintiff's allegations were true did they refer plaintiff to Busby. Now you might be saying at this point, well, you're just relying on the due diligence of another firm? Not exactly. In addition, the attorneys at AVA Law prepared an initial version of the original complaint. Two attorneys at the Busby firm interviewed the plaintiff, fact-checked various aspects of plaintiff's complaint, and revised the complaint prior to its filing.
And you didn't find these inconsistencies and lies about a daddy not even remembering it, that there was no Jumbotron and that there was no mansion around the corner? I mean, come on. And that the rock star wasn't dead that she said was dead. Tony Busby, where we going with this? Somebody help him.
The Busby firm's efforts included, among other things, intensive interviews amounting to cross-examinations of plaintiff by 3 to 5 attorneys, both alone and in teams, and research and verification of numerous details in plaintiff's account. The Busby firm ran a background check on plaintiff and retained a retired police detective to research and confirm other aspects of plaintiff's account. The Busby firm also conducted research to confirm the close connection between Carter and Combs, which further bolstered the conclusion that plaintiff's allegations were plausible, credible, and warranted legal recourse. Now, of course, they have to prove that they actually did this and when they did this, because Sean Carter's team has also made the point, if you look at the timeline, there's no way that Tony Busby did all of this due diligence. So it's a kind of, who said what. But Busby argues that this clearly satisfied his and his firm's obligations under Rule 11 to conduct a thorough and reasonable pre-filing investigation into the facts and the law. And by the way, again, they highlight that NBC even said and acknowledged in their report on Jane Doe that what they found does not, quote, necessarily mean the allegations are false. So Kasowitz writes, as there was nothing unreasonable about plaintiff's account of the night in question, there is nothing unreasonable about counsel believing her allegations. And then Kasowitz reverses the narrative and says if anyone has been acting bad here, it's Jay-Z and his lawyers.
Do you believe Jay-Z and his lawyers is acting bad here? Somebody put it in the comments. So do you think Tony Busby is acting bad? Let's do a little survey and see what's going on. All right.
And they may have violated Rule 11. So Kasowitz says that they're engaging in over-the-top zealous advocacy that has crossed the line, especially since they highlight that the judge overseeing this case has already called out Carter's lawyer, Alex Spiro, in a prior order, writing, Carter's lawyer's relentless filing of combative motions containing inflammatory language and ad hominem attacks is inappropriate, a waste of judicial resources, and a tactic unlikely to benefit his client. So Kasowitz and Busby are saying all that Jay-Z and his team are doing so far in this case is trying to intimidate Jane Doe and her lawyers from moving forward with this lawsuit.
So you tell me that you holding Jay-Z's name back, label him as celebrity number 2, try and get the bag out of him. He refused to give you the bag, and then now you name him in the lawsuit, is not shaking him down? Y'all put that in the comments if you believe that's shaking him down. Let's keep it 100. This makes no sense.
In fact, in this letter, they also allege that Carter, his lawyers, and his entertainment company, Rock Nation, are allegedly behind investigators approaching past and current employees and clients of Busby's firm to get some of them to file lawsuits against Busby, even offered money to do so. That is quite the allegation, and we've seen this allegation before in previous filings. So in the end, Busby and Jane Doe are asking the court to deny Carter's motion for sanctions and are actually asking the court to maybe sanction Carter and his lawyers and force them to reimburse him and his firm and Jane Doe for the attorney's fees and costs that were incurred for even having to respond to all of this. A lot of back and forth. There you have it.
There you have it. What do you think? Somebody talk to me. Somebody put in the comments. Do you believe this story, this lawsuit, or does this sound crazy to you? Because it definitely sounds crazy to me. Make sure you subscribe at my daughter's YouTube channel, Juanita Mecca Audio. Also subscribe at Unique Mecca Audio Prison Stories and Mecca Audio TV. Hit the notification bell for all notifications. If you don't, you won't be notified. And as you see, I drop the videos when I feel, because I'm living my life after 26 years in federal prison, and that's why I have the insight on this crap that's going on. And I didn't let you know, we don't like flip-flop wearing in public, trolls or rat bastards over here, because this is a gangster channel. All right?
Cheers, cheers, toast the crime, toast the crime, the crime, the crime, the crime.
Can of 26, he back on the strip, get it back in the mix. What he mentions a gift. You stand up 10 toes down, and I suggest you pay attention to this. Take a little gully posse and put it in hall. He cut from the bottom, came up from the bottom. Drop the book, you should go and get it. The Instagram page and the YouTube, you could go and visit. Then you could consider yourself LinkedIn. Sit front row and get Jews from a kingpin. How he went through it, so you ain't gotta go do it. Did not pay attention, would be stupid. Talking about a man that probably put your grandfather on. Probably the reason that him and your grams got along. A man that generated millions on the block, did his time, never squilling to the cops, make an audio. Get it live like 2 G's in the night. Drop top beamer so shine. I let shorty go, she was wine. treat her like my past, she behind me. Spend a couple bands on the Dapper Dan. You be back again, getting green like a Packers fan. No cap, it's a roaring uptown. Baby horn uptown, Dominican bust down. Now we on the positive, we got a lot to give. Now you trying to stop the kids from being inoperative. So take heed, homie, lend an ear. He started in uptown, he gon' finish there. But now it ain't about selling drugs, buying cars. It's about buying property to make the community ours, so we can give back to the.
Cheers, cheers, toast the crime, the crime, the crime, the crime, the crime.